Do you truly believe that God sent fire from heaven at the request of Elijah? Or are you one of those who look at the Holy Scriptures and see only ancient metaphors, legends created to explain the inexplicable to the eyes of a primitive people? What is at stake here is not a simple Bible story to illustrate Sunday sermons. It is your own spiritual survival in a world that tries, every second, to extinguish the flame of your faith. If the fire had not descended that fateful day on the summit of Mount Carmel, Elijah would not have just lost a theological debate. He would have lost his very life under Jezebel's relentless blade, and the name of the God of Israel would have been wiped from the memory of that nation forever. The dilemma you face today, perhaps sitting in the comfort of your home, is exactly the same as it was 3,000 years ago. Either the fire of God descends and consumes what binds you, or spiritual death rises and devours your last drop of hope. This video was not made for those seeking cheap entertainment or sugary self-help phrases that only stroke the ego. This is an altar of direct confrontation between your convenience and the overwhelming power of the Creator of the universe. If you seek a lukewarm message that leaves you comfortable in your errors and apathy, close this video right now. But if you are one of those thirsty souls who need to see the naked and raw truth being proven by the fire of divine reality, then you are in the right place. Subscribe now and leave a like, because what we are going to reconstruct here today can ignite your perception of who God truly is. Prepare yourself. The confrontation is about to begin. Imagine a world where the sky has turned into a glowing plate of bronze. There are no clouds, no breeze, not the slightest sign of moisture in the air. Only a relentless sun that punishes the land of Israel day after day, week after week, for 3 interminable and cruel years. Close your eyes and try to smell it. The acrid scent of dry dust mixed with the nauseating stench of cattle carcasses rotting in pastures that were once the pride and sustenance of that nation. The kingdom of Israel, under the dark rule of King Ahab and the bloodthirsty influence of Queen Jezebel, is not just experiencing a catastrophic climate crisis. It is plunged into an unprecedented spiritual bankruptcy. The worship of Baal, the supposed lord of storms and fertility, is no longer just a religious option among many. It is the iron law imposed by a corrupt palace. The people, cornered by the fear of persecution and seduced by the promise of easy, worldly prosperity, attempt an impossible spiritual maneuver. Serving 2 masters at the same time. They kneel in the luxurious temple of Baal in the morning, asking stone idols for rain, and whisper the name of Jehovah at night, out of mere family tradition. The result of this fatal indecision? The sky shut like a heavy metal padlock. The cracked earth beneath the feet of the Israelites is the exact reflection of the heart of that nation. Hardened, fruitless, shattered by lies, and desperately thirsty for something that the empty, loud, and obscene rituals of Jezebel can never offer. The silence of God, at this historical moment, is his greatest and most terrible punishment. It is in this scenario of absolute desolation that a figure emerges who defies all the aesthetics of royalty and power of the time. Elijah, the Tishbite. Do not imagine him in fine silk robes or shining gold crowns. He wears rough animal skins, his hair disheveled by the relentless wind of the desert, and his face furrowed by a pain that does not belong to him, but to the glory of God that has been publicly outraged. Elijah is not a fictional superhero. He is a man of passions similar to ours, but who carries the weight of an entire nation on his back. Why did he do what he did? Why summon 850 pagan prophets to the top of Mount Carmel? It wasn't for show. It was a desperate trigger to restore the identity of a people who simply forgot where they came from. Elijah knew perfectly well that beautiful words and eloquent sermons were no longer enough for a people who had become purely visual and materialistic. 4 hearts hardened like stone. A sign was needed that left absolutely no room for doubt or human interpretation. He backed them against the wall in front of everyone, with no escape. How long will you waver between 2 opinions? His roar echoed through the mountainsides, making the hearts of cowards tremble. The challenge was simple, direct, and brutal. Each side would prepare a sacrifice on an altar, but no one under any circumstances would dare light the fire. The God who responded with real fire would be the true God. The price of defeat was immediate execution. The risk was absolute, and it was a matter of life or death. The sun reaches the zenith, the hottest and most unbearable point of the day. The ritual of false hope begins. 450 prophets of Baal surround the altar under the watchful eye of a hungry, thirsty, and skeptical crowd. Imagine the absolute sonic chaos. Hysterical screams, repetitive chants that become a deafening mantra, the sound of feet furiously beating the dry earth. They dance frantically, leaping over the cold stone altar as if they could force the hand of a mute and blind idol. The sun burns their skin, but Baal does not answer. The sky remains blue, clear, and terribly silent. The hours pass, and desperation turns into a scene of pure visual horror. They take sharp blades and begin to slash themselves, warm blood trickling down their arms and mixing with the red dust of Carmel. It is the perfect image of human religiosity without God. Much effort, much blood, much pain, and absolutely no result. Meanwhile, Elijah watches everything with a holy irony that cuts like a sharp knife. "Shout louder," he mocks, his voice heavy with contempt for their sin. Perhaps your God is on an important trip, or maybe he is sleeping, or who knows, maybe he is too busy with his personal needs. Feel the weight of this prophetic sarcasm. Elijah is not just joking. He is exposing the absolute futility of that in which the people placed their last hope for survival. The day begins to decline. Baal's sacrifice is now just a mass of bloody, cold meat covered in blowflies. There is no voice, no answer, no fire. False hope died along with the last rays of the sun hiding beneath the horizon. Now the stage is his. The silence that settles over Mount Carmel is deafening and heavy like lead. Elijah stands up with a calm that terrifies the surviving pagan prophets. The people are exhausted, frustrated, and their hearts are beating hard with pure fear of what comes next. Elijah does not use the defiled altar of Baal. He takes 12 rough stones, each representing a tribe of Israel, and rebuilds the altar of the Lord that was in ruins and forgotten by time. Understand this. The restoration of your life will always begin with the reconstruction of the altar, the place of your personal and secret sacrifice with God. But then, Elijah does something that defies any human logic or survival instinct. In the midst of a deadly drought, he orders them to pour massive jars of water over the sacrifice and the wood. He asks them to do this 3 times in a row. Water flows in abundance, soaking the meat, saturating the wood to its core, and completely filling the trench around the altar. He made the miracle impossible to human eyes. He raised the risk to the maximum level, with no safety net. If the fire did not descend now, there would be no technical excuses or gimmicks. He would be killed right there, lynched by the deceived crowd. Feel the chill of doubt running down the spine of the multitude as Elijah approaches the soaked altar, the water glistening under the twilight. He does not scream. He does not dance. He simply offers a 63-word prayer. Simple, yet charged with eternal authority. A prayer that sought only one thing: the manifestation of absolute sovereignty over human rebellion. Answer me, Lord, so these people will know that you are God. And then, without warning, the sky rips open. It was not a common lightning bolt or an explainable weather phenomenon. It was a pillar of white and golden fire, an explosion of pure divine energy that descended with a thunderous sound that shook the entire mountain to its foundations. The fire of God did not just ignite the wood. It devoured the meat of the animal, consumed the wet wood, disintegrated the 12 stones, turning them into fine dust, and licked up every last drop of water in the deep trench. The heat was so intense that the crowd instantly fell on their faces in a sign of terror and genuine worship. The unison cry echoed through the valleys of Judea. "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" Doubt had nowhere to hide before that light. The aftermath was swift, severe, and necessary to purify the nation. The prophets of Baal were judged and removed. But the greatest victory was not the spectacular fire that fell. It was what happened right after the act of obedience. Elijah went up to the top of the mountain and prayed with his face between his knees in deep humility. Suddenly, a small cloud, the size of a man's hand, appeared on the distant horizon. The sky of bronze finally shattered into pieces. The smell of rain hitting the dry earth is the smell of God's mercy returning home. Israel was being washed from the outside in. The drought ended because the heart of the people was reclaimed by the fire that proved who the true king is. The fire of Elijah descended to restore what was lost under the rubble of idolatry and indecision. And you? Is your personal altar with God in ruins, overgrown by the weeds of negligence? Have you looked at the apparent success of those who do not fear God and doubted your own calling and purpose? Perhaps what is missing for the fire to descend in your life is not more time or more luck, but the courage to rebuild your altar and to stop, once and for all, wavering between 2 opinions. If this word burned in your heart and brought light to your confusion, comment now. Fire on the altar. Show the world that you have chosen the God who answers by fire, the living God who accepts nothing less than your entire heart. What needs to happen for the fire to descend in your story today? Think about that as the rain of divine answer begins to fall softly upon your soul.